Welcome to Recap Geeks. This is your host Dave, and today we'll be recapping The Witcher Season 1. The dark scene that opens the first episode of The Witcher shows us an innocent deer which is about to meet its timely end when it's greeted by a monstrous creature that launches from the depths of the lake. This is the first time we meet Geralt, or as we know him, the legendary Witcher, slayer of beasts and supernatural creatures. As the Witcher battles with the frightening creature, he takes down the beast via a blade to the mouth. It's a short yet intense moment and a fabulous gripping way to hook in the viewer. The scene then moves to the gloomy tavern, where we learn the locals have branded Witcher a mutant. It seems to me he isn't much of a favoured character, at least not yet. Thankfully for him, a charming woman, who we later learn will be the victim of the Witcher's task, comes to his defence. When Kikimora makes her first appearance, she takes Geralt to meet the town's wizard, Stregobor, who's currently in hiding and hunting a powerful cursed villain, the charming woman from the tavern, or as we later find out, Princess Renfri. Stregobor tells the tale of the curse of the Black Sun to convince Geralt to take on the task at hand, murdering a human. The human is the cursed Princess Renfri, now known as the Stygia. The Witcher, sticking to his morals, refuses the task he deems as evil. Now we're taken back to the royal premises, where a ball takes place, and we meet the king, queen, and their granddaughter, Princess Ciri, often called Ciri. Alongside the dancing and merriment, the king discusses something more foreboding: war. We learn that war is upon the kingdom, a war that will see both the king and queen meet their death on the front line of battle, a dramatic introduction for the first episode. The second episode of The Witcher opens with Geralt doing what he does best, hunting a mysterious monster that has been causing mayhem and slaughtering the locals from a nearby village. However, we soon learn this is no monster at all, but the cursed Princess Renfri, who we saw in confrontation with Geralt at the end of the first episode. Meanwhile, we learn about Yennefer's backstory while she's in training to work for the king at a magical school. As the story of the Hunchback unravels, she's forced to undergo some pretty brutal training under the watchful eye of the sorceress named Trisaia de Vries. While Geralt decides whether to trust Renfri and rid her of the curse, or indeed kill her as requested. Villagers are still being mutilated by the day. He should act fast before she follows through with her promise to kill the ruler of a nearby kingdom, and I don't think she's bluffing. Today is the end of the episode. We see the introduction of Jaskier, one of my new favourite people in the show so far, who becomes Geralt's annoying and unwanted companion on his quest to find Ciri. Speaking of whom, Ciri has been told she must embrace her powers and find her destiny after being rescued from the forest while on the run after fleeing the kingdom. Coming to episode 3, where we're first greeted with a gruesome vision of a man who's been slashed across the chest, clearly by some unspeakable monster. You might want to cover your eyes here if you're squeamish. The first Witcher who tries to conquer the force is slaughtered. Of course, this is where Geralt is now caught up to save the day. If anyone can do it, he can, right? However, when he meets Triss in the woods, she tries to convince Geralt that the creature needs saving, not slaughtering. We're taken back to Yennefer, who's in cahoots with a magical artist. Standing in a ring of fire, he promises to enchant the hunchback, turning her into a beautiful woman. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, a meeting is being held to banish Yennefer from her upcoming duties to the king. I don't think she's going to take kindly to that after all her hard work. In her anger, Yennefer cruelly dismisses her lover, claiming she'll be all-powerful. She heads back to the artist and demands him to proceed with the operation, and he's to perform it while she's awake. Yikes. The episode closes with two simultaneous gripping scenes going back and forth from Geralt battling with screeching Stygia and Yennefer, undergoing an agonizing procedure to rid her of her deformities and become a powerful, beautiful sorceress. Geralt was successful in ridding the Stygia of its curse using a magic potion. However, he didn't come off too well, and we're left wondering whether he will even survive. But of course he has to, he's the Witcher. We're left at the end with a new scene, clearly leading us into episode 4, where Ciri is being led into the forest by hypnotic whispers. The Witcher episode 4 takes place in Brooklyn Forest, where Ciri meets a group of hostile elves, which finally explains the whispering we've been hearing coming from the eerie trees. The elves are pretty unwelcoming, to say the least, and request that Ciri and Dara undergo a test to see if they're honest. If they are, they will live and stay with the elves, under their protection. If they don't, they die a rather unpleasant death. Hold on to your horses with this complex episode and pay attention as you're about to be taken on a rather disorientating story in a rather bizarre order, feeding back and forth through various timelines. It's great to finally see Yennefer's powers finally being put to use as she uses her sorcery to protect a young refugee and her baby from a group of wicked bandits who are tracking them as they jump through the enchanted portholes to escape. Of course, we also see Geralt make an entrance back into the tavern after his brawl with Death, albeit not looking quite as charming as we're used to seeing him. I imagine he doesn't smell too great either. The episode comes to its final scenes at a banquet hosted by Queen Calanthe in honour of her daughter, Princess Pavetta's engagement. However, the event is soon interrupted by a new face on the scene, Knight Urchin of Ellenwald. He's come to claim his reward for saving the Queen's husband. The episode ends on a crescendo when Pavetta reveals her pregnancy and her bond to Urchin. This scene is pretty significant as it sets the plot for what's left to come. It also introduces the law of surprise, something we will hear more about as the series progresses. I thought this was a brilliant dramatic scene, which not only took the guests at the banquet by surprise, but also the viewer. In episode 5, we finally see Geralt of Rivia meet Yennefer. Geralt seeks the sorcerer's help after his bard Jaskier is cursed by a djinn, or genie as we better know them, at the lake. Only dark magic can cure his ever-worsening condition, and Yennefer seems to be the only way out. But little does Geralt know just how captivating and malevolent this dark sorcerer really is, not to mention how raunchy. The scenes that unfold here certainly don't make for family viewing. In this episode, we're introduced to Rience, a mage who's been imprisoned until now. He's been released so he can capture Princess Ciri, which he does by taking the form of her trusted friend Mousesuck. Of course, she's delighted to see her old friend, and agrees to leave with him without hesitation. Lucky for her, Dara isn't so trusting. Now that Jaskier has recovered, Yennefer is keen for him to make a final wish to the djinn, so that she can be its future vessel, making her more powerful than ever. She's almost successful in her quest for power until Geralt steps in. I think it's clear at this point he's been drawn in by her beauty. He can't leave her to die, which is what will happen if she becomes possessed by the djinn. During this scene, we see the djinn taking over Yennefer's body. Grant Geralt one last wish. While we see him mumble, it's left to us to imagine what he wished for. But whatever it was, it frees Yennefer from its clutches. Will we ever find out? The scene ends with Yennefer and Geralt becoming intimate in a rather passionate, while Jaskier looks on, relieved to see his friend is still alive. In episode 6, we see Geralt and Jaskier hired to slay another beast, during which Geralt meets Borch, 3 jackdaws, and his resilient companions, T on V. Borch encourages Geralt to accompany him on a mission to track down a green dragon that's demolished a nearby village after locals attempted to steal the treasure it guards. There's a reward for any person who kills the dragon. Geralt accepts the challenge, but not for the treasure. He knows this will be his chance to reconnect with Yennefer. Meanwhile, we flash to Ciri, whose friend in disguise is soon to be revealed after Dara expresses his distrust. When all is disclosed, Ciri makes a run for it with the fraudulent kidnapper not on her heels. However, things only worsen for her as she runs into a soldier who sedates her. I can't help but get a bit of a Lord of the Rings vibe from the rest of the episode, which made it even more exciting as we watched the 4 groups of dragon hunters led by dwarves through the formidable mountains. The ending of the episode came as a total shock when it was revealed that Borch was in fact a golden dragon, something only thought to exist in myths and old times tales. After a battle between Reavers, Geralt, Yennefer and the dwarves, Geralt finally reveals what he wished from the djinn. It was for his and Yennefer's destinies to be forever entwined. At last we know. We later see that the kidnapped Ciri is, in fact, Doppler again. This time in the form of Ciri. The real Ciri is currently being rescued by Dara, only for him to leave her once more in fear of her putting him into too much danger. I can't say I blame him, really. In episode 7, Geralt returns to Cintra to check on Princess Ciri after losing Yennefer. Now remember, you have to stick with this episode, as much of it dates back to the very beginning of the series when we witnessed the battle. It's confusing, I know, but is mainly the scenes involving the Queen, Ciri and Geralt, so stick with it. We see Ciri on her way to Skellige after Dara ditched her, and she's now found committing petty thievery and blending with the local street children. Geralt meets with Mousesuck to warn of the Nilfgaard army, but they're interrupted by assassins. Geralt forces Mousesuck to portal them out, and they arrive in Cintra. Queen Calanthe offers to pay Geralt to break the debt, but he refuses and believes her life to be in danger. After meeting who he believes to be the princess, Geralt realises it's not her and plans to track down the real princess, whom the queen is determined not to let go. The episode ends with Geralt and the princess he rescued from the assassins being surrounded by the Nilfgaardian soldiers. Overall, there's a lot going on here, and the episode is action-packed and filled with suspense as Geralt and Ciri are both in danger. We also see Yennefer go back to her old school and reminisce over the loss of her sisters, during which time she gets enthralled into agreeing to fight in battle. Wrong place and time, I guess, but I have a feeling she'll be needed. In the final episode of Season 1, the finale, we see Geralt in the woods, still on his quest when he comes across a merchant moving bodies from a destroyed village. Despite the man's ignorance, Geralt jumps to his rescue when he's laid upon by ground-dwelling monsters, leaving Geralt with a possibly fatal wound. Thankfully, the grateful merchant returns for the Witcher, or the Butcher as he calls him, and attempts to take him to safety, despite Geralt's complaining. Meanwhile, Ciri is captured by the sorceress Fringilla and taken to Nilfgaard. It's not looking great for our heroes, is it? As Geralt continues his search for Princess Ciri to conquer his destiny and uphold a promise he made to her father, a battle breaks out in the town of Sodden Hill, and Yennefer does her best to protect the people from the Nilfgaardian army's ferocious attack. Although she tries her best, Yennefer's victory comes at a cost. She's left without magic, and with severe injuries before being kidnapped by the army she helped to defeat. I think despite the intense battle and grave injuries, not to mention the blood and the gore that we see in the final episode of Season 8, there is one thing that sticks with us, and that it's what we've all been waiting for. Geralt is finally united with his destiny. Princess Ciri. We are left with the vision of the unlikely companions in an embrace of victory. But where will this partnership be led to by the time we arrive at Season 2? One thing's for sure, I'm in the queue to find out. And that's a wrap for Season 1 of The Witcher. Let us know what some of your favourite moments were of the show in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, click that like button. It really does help the channel out a lot. We'll be back with some more recaps shortly.